Good morning, Year 4. Welcome to your Tuesday maths lesson. We're going to be continuing with the learning we did yesterday, all about time, but today we're going to be telling time to the nearest minute. So let's get started. So the first thing you have is your do now. If you want to just do questions 1 to 5, that's great. If you'd like to do the challenge as well, that is fantastic. So pause me now and complete your arithmetic. Okay, welcome back everybody. Let's take a look at some answers. So get a different coloured pen and mark your answer. If one's not right, make sure you edit it and you understand where you've gone wrong. And when you've done that, let's move on. So today we're telling the time to the nearest minute, but yesterday you were telling the time to the nearest 5 minutes. So we're going to do a quick recap. So my blue hand is my minute hand, it is the longer hand. So if the longer hand is pointing to the 12, it's o'clock. If the longer hand's pointing to the 3, it's quarter past. To the 6, it is half past. Or to the 9, it is quarter to. So as we can see, between 12 and 6, here on the yellow part of the clock, we say past. And between 6 and 12, we say to. So take a look at my 3 clocks down here. I'd like you to pause me now and have a think and write down the times that these clocks are showing. Okay, welcome back. Let's make sure that you got those correct. So on this clock, I'm looking at my minute hand. It's at the 6. If the minute hand is at the 6, I know it is half past. And the hour hand is between the 4 and the 5. So I go back to look at my 4. So it is 4:30. My next one, my minute hand's at the 3. I know that is quarter past. And my hour hand is between the 9 and the 10. It's nearer to the 9, and I know that I need to look back because I'm saying past. So it is 9:15. And my last one I won't go through, it's 11:45. So coming on to these clocks now. These clocks are showing times to the nearest 5 minutes. So let's quickly recap with the first one. The longer minute hand is pointing at the 1. Now the 1 does not mean it is 1 minute past. The 1 indicates that it is the first main number on my clock. Now clocks go up on a timescale of 5. So if the minute hand is pointing at the 1, that is my first jump from 12, so it is going to be 5 past. Now my hour hand is pointing pretty much at the 5, so it is 5 past 5. I'd like you to pause me now and have a go at the next 2 clocks. Okay, welcome back. So let's take a look at this clock first. Now, my longer minute hand is pointing to the 7. So instead of counting all the way around here, 1, 2, 3, 4, to work out what the 7 represents, I'm going to use my 5 times tables because I know that my clock is going up in jumps of 5. So 5 times 7 is 35. So 35, and I've got my hour hand in between 5 and 6. But 35 minutes past 5 would not be quite right, because the 35 comes on this section of the clock, which is 2. So instead of 35 minutes past, I need to find the difference between the top of my clock, which is 60, and this part of my clock, which is 35, and the difference between 60 and 35 is 25. So I would say it is 25 to 6. But since I'm just going to be writing the time in digital format on my answer, the answer is going to look like 5:35. And the same on this clock, I'm going to use my 5 times table. So 5 times 8 is 40. My hour hand is between the 9 and the 10. I'm going to go back and look at my 9. So it is 9:40. If I was saying the time though, I wouldn't say 9:40. I would say it is 20 to 10. But if I was writing it in digital, it would look like that. Oops, sorry, just bear with me a second. Okay, so today we are telling the time to the nearest minute. So having a look at my clock, yes, I have my numbers 1 to 11, and I now know that I use my 5 times tables to be able to work out what the jumps are. But there are intervals in between each of these 5 minutes. What could they represent? Pause me and have a think. So yes, well done if you said that they represent minutes. It'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on around the clock. So each of the smaller intervals represents 1 minute. So how many minutes pass? Let's take a look at these clocks. We don't have hour hands on these clocks because at the moment we're just focusing on telling the time using minutes. So I have my minute hand here. I know it's going to be past because it is on this side of the clock. It is between the 12 and the 6. So I could count in minutes to get round to this clock. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe that would work for where this one's pointing now because it's not very far around, but it's not really going to work if I have the minute hand pointing much further around the clock. So instead, I'm going to use my times tables to the nearest one before it hasn't gone past. That's going to be the 1 here, which I know is 5, and then I'm going to count on. So 5, 6, 7, 8. So at that time, that clock, the minute hand represents 8 minutes past. Let's have a look at the next one. So I'm not going to count all the way around. I'm going to use my timetables facts. So 5, 10, it's just past the 15, so I'm going to stop there, and it's 1 more minute on, so 15, 16, 16 minutes past. And jumping onto my last clock, 5, 10, 15, 20. And let me count my intervals, 20, 21, 22. It is 22 minutes past. So as I've just done there, you can also draw around the outside of your clock to make sure you're really careful when you're counting the intervals. Okay, how many minutes to? So I know that these ones are all minutes to because they are between the 6 and the 12 on this side of my clock. So let's take a look at this hand. Now I could again count 5, 10, 15, 20, or I could just jump straight here and know that 5 times 11 is 55. And I'm going 1 less than 55. So 1 less than 55 is 54. But I don't say it's 54 minutes past. I need to use the word to. So it's not 54 to, but instead the 12, obviously 5 times 12 is 60, that represents my 60. So I could do 60, take away 54, so the difference between 54 and 6, which obviously gives me 6. So it's 6 minutes to. To check this, if I was a bit unsure, I could obviously count on until I get to the 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exactly 6 minutes to. Okay, let's take a look at this one down here. So I'm going to again use my times tables facts and go to 5 times 8, which is 40, 41, 42, 43. So this time it is 43 that the minute hand is pointing to, but again I'm not going to say 43 minutes past, instead it is 17 minutes to. Now to get that I just did 60 take away 43 in my head. If that's not very easy, obviously you can use whatever method you use to calculate that. But maybe an easier way is to think of 60 take away 15, which it's very near to, because that's a much easier numbers to deal with. 60 take away 15 is 45, and then I need to count a further 2 back until I work out that that is 17. And having a look at my last clock, the minute hand this time is here. So 5 times 6 gives me 30, 31, 32, 33. Now it is just past the 6, but I'm still going to be using 2. So 60 take away 33 is 27. So it's 27 minutes to this time. Again, I could use 60 take away 25 to give me 35 left, and then count back further to work out that it was 27 minutes to. Okay, let's move on to some other examples. So I'm going to move on to my visualizer now, where I'm going to use a clock face. So I've got my steps to success. My steps to success today are: number 1, look at the minute hand. Is it past or to? If it's past, I'm going to count forwards, or if it's to, I'm going to count backwards. And step 2 is to look at the hour hand. So let's do some examples together. So here's my first time that my clock face is showing. I'm looking only at the minute hand to start off with, which is the blue hand. I need to work out if it's past or to. So as I've said before, if the minute hand is within this section here, between the 12 and the 6, I know that it is past. So for past, I'm going to count forwards. I'm not going to bother counting each individual interval. I don't have time for that. So instead, I'm just going to jump, and then I've got my 5, and it's between 5 and 10, so I'm going to count on from here. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so it is 8 minutes past. Step 2, look at the hour hand. It's nearest to 4. So it's 8 minutes past 4. So in digital time, I have it like this. Or if I'm writing it out, it is 8 minutes past 4. 8 minutes past 4. Okay, let's do another example together. I'm just going to move my clock on to a different time. Okay, my clock is now showing a new time that we need to try and work out. So I'm going to really closely look at my steps to success. Look at the minute hand. Is it past or to? Okay, so this time my minute hand is, well, it's nearest to the 8, and it is on this side of the clock, between the 6 and the 12 going this way, so I know that it is 2. So looking at my steps, I'm going to now this time count backwards. So I can do 5 times 9, which gives me 45, and I'm going to count backwards from 45 to work out the time, so 44, 43, 42, 41 this time. So obviously 41, I'm not going to say it's 41 minutes past, we've decided that it's 2, so instead the 60 to the 41, I need to work out the difference, which is 19. So it's 19 minutes to, and my hour hand is in between the 10 and 11, and since it's 2, I now need to jump to the bigger number, the number that it's next going to be, so it is 19 minutes to 11 this time. So let me write that out. So I can write out obviously my digital format first, so 10:41, or it is 19 minutes to 11. 19 minutes to 11. Okay, let's do another example. Let me just reset my clock. Okay, let's look at the steps again. Look at the minute hand. Is it past or to? It's 2. So it's 2, so I'm going to count backwards this time. So it's starting at my 12, which 5 times 12 is 60, 59, 58, 57. So it's 57 that it's pointing to. So I've got a nice easy calculation this time to work out how many minutes to it is. It is 3 minutes to the hour. And what hour is it? The hour hand pointing at for step number 2? It's 6. So it's 3 minutes to 6. So let me get that written down. I can either write that down as 5:57 or 3 minutes to 6. Okay. So for your independent task today, you are, for your use section, or your task 1, you have some clock faces. You just need to write the time shown on each clock in words, so like I was doing under the digital time. So remember to follow the steps to success down here. For your reply section, it's a true or false questions. Now, Miss Jones has kindly put on the sheet some blank clock faces for you. So if you're struggling just by looking at the words, you just need to draw your hour hands on the clock, and it should become much clearer and easier to answer whether it's true or false. And then you also have some reasoning questions on there. Now don't forget, you can ask an adult for help, or if you have a clock in your house, you might be able to use that to help you as well. So good luck with the work, and we look forward to seeing your work on Seesaw and see how you're getting on with the time. All right, goodbye everyone.